Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to reintroduce to you now. Janet Ebos is a returning guest on our show. Be sure to check out her first appearance on episode 703 of Boundless Body Radio, where she, Robyn Dobbins, and I reviewed the 2024 Symposium for Metabolic Health Conference in San Diego. Janet Ebos is a registered holistic nutritionist specializing in natural health and wellness through whole foods, lifestyle changes, and integrative health practices. The goal of holistic nutrition is to address underlying imbalances and support the body's natural healing processes, fostering long-term health rather than just short-term fixes. Janet effectively provides support for digestive issues, mental and brain health, weight management, chronic health conditions such as prediabetes and diabetes, heart disease and obesity, healthy aging, hormonal balance, autoimmune diseases, and overall optimal well-being. With a passion for optimal brain and mental health, Janet has received specialized training in the therapeutic ketogenic diet from two of our favorite former podcast guests, Dr. Georgia Ede and Nicole Laurent, who developed metabolic psychiatry for non-prescribers. You can find Janet on her new and absolutely beautiful website at www.purelyjanet.ca. Janet Ebos, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you back to Boundless Body Radio.
Thank you. It's so good to see you again, Casey.
It's so good to see you as well. We just got to hang out this weekend in person in Las Vegas, which is absolutely lovely. In the last 2 weekends, I've taken 2 trips kind of further south. I went to San Diego again. My wife and I had a few days just kind of hang out there. Obviously, lovely weather down there. The weather in Vegas was amazing this year. And I can always tell the people that are coming from northern climates, not only do we look like polar bears, but we are just wow, we want that sunshine. I can see you out there outside of the building, just standing in the sun with your eyes closed, letting the sun hit your skin. It feels wonderful after it's been like a long, cold winter where you are, especially in just outside of Toronto. But oh my goodness, it felt so nice to be in the sun.
Yeah, because we just, had a snowstorm today and last night. And that last break at the COSI conference, Casey, everybody knew where the sunspot was. That's why you could find a few of us scattered on the stairs because the sun, but yeah, that was my priority on all the breaks is to get some sun.
Oh, so nice. Yeah, it was
so
awesome.
Nice.
So nice. I was lucky. I didn't get into the lunch event that they had. I know they had a pretty cool lunch event that I didn't actually get into. But I was lucky because Utah hockey was playing games on both the weekend days early. And so I got to go watch it. And I would go out a little ways and take my shirt off and sit and watch hockey on my phone, which is really, really nice. And luckily nobody discovered me half naked, a few blocks away, like watching the hockey game. But it was great. It was an awesome time.
That's good.
Yeah, it was great. You are already very good at reviewing conferences that you have been to. I'm just curious to hear what were your thoughts about the COSI conference that you and I just got back from. This was hosted by Dave Feldman. This was the second annual one, 2025 COSI for short. What did you think of the conference?
I really enjoyed it. It's very unique, isn't it? Like they have the citizen scientists, like 15-minute blurbs, which is nice, and having little short blurbs, and then the main speakers were half an hour. Dave was able to get a lot of speakers in, so I liked that. It's just a cool vibe. It's a community. It's like when you go to these, it's reuniting with people you've met before, meeting new friends, making connections, hearing people's stories. It's so powerful. And I think I think you might agree with me. The best part, and in your questionnaire before the podcast, you ask what is undertold or overlooked. And I can say it right now. It's that tongue stabilizing device.
Totally.
It's that bulb thing.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, sorry. People don't know what I'm talking about. But
I'm so glad you went there. Oh,
out of the blue, you listeners. We just didn't know what was happening, but somebody was sort of selling us on this bulb thing that you could stick your tongue out at night. Maybe it works. I shouldn't knock it, but
true.
It could work for snoring.
Oh my goodness. The tongue ball. Yes, it was the tongue ball. I'll try to link a picture No offense to the guy. Obviously, he was some dentist. He was one of those citizen scientists who, got a 15-minute presentation. I don't know what the process is like to, try to get your own 15-minute spot. And a lot of them, by nature of them, it's 15 minutes, and these people are not necessarily like doctors or researchers. They're just, there to tell stories, and there certainly were a lot of like really powerful, good stories. But yeah, it was about 5 minutes into this guy talking about like breathing and all this great stuff about dentition and all this.
Yeah.
And then it was like snoring, which again, awesome to talk about. But then he started like kind of pitching, like almost selling this device that's a ball that goes around the front part of your tongue and then has like flanges on either side. So if you can imagine, I don't know how you could imagine this without actually seeing it, but like for the listener, imagine your tongue is out of your mouth by good, like half inch, full inch. It's surrounded by this ball, and then the flanges keep it there. And so you're like, you have your tongue out. And it's supposed to be an anti-snoring device. And he was like pretty big on like pitching this device. I was like, what's going on?
You know what? I've
like
heard it just threw me off. That's all. And maybe it works. And I've heard a lot of things and a lot of biohacks. Like I listen to biohackers, and I love that. I learn a lot from them. And we mouth tape at night too for kind of the nitric oxide and for all the benefits of breathing through your nose and snoring and whatever. But this one threw me off. It really did. And so sorry everybody. It was a bit of
amazing.
Woo!
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you brought that up.
That'll forever be our bonding, Casey.
That is totally. Yeah, totally. I immediately found a picture and sent our mutual friend. We mentioned Robyn Dobbins, her husband, Matt, was at the conference as well, but he was stepping out to also take their daughter out to go see Vegas. And I texted him a picture of the tongue ball and said, look what you're missing out on. He's like, what the hell is this? You missed out.
No, but okay. I loved it. I love the conference. I had never heard Nadir Ali speak before. And, he's basically saying, why are we still prescribing statins? And he's really fantastic. And I love how they had panels so they could discuss and disagree. And it's so valuable because it's really confusing, and it's like, oh, I believe this. No, now I believe this. I'm not sure, And then David Diamond, we happened to share an elevator with. I don't know, this elevator thing just seems to work for me because we talked to David Diamond, then we shared and he's, by the way, he's a professor at, I think, in South Florida, I believe. And he is like a neuroscientist, and he has his, really interesting views and on LDL and statins and whatnot. But in San Diego, I shared an elevator with Mary Newport, just by chance.
That's right.
I'm like, so oh, well, hello, Mary Newport. And she goes, oh, you know me? I'm like, what, are you kidding? You're like the OG of metabolic health, like for Alzheimer's. So, but I really enjoyed the panels, the lean mass hyper responder discussions. I like, what I learned, because I never really gave thought to what about other lean people that are on a ketogenic diet that are not, they don't have high LDL. Well, they're healthy too. And they were explaining about the efficiency of the liver might explain that. Because one guy went up to the mic and said, how can I become a lean mass hyper responder? I thought that was so cute. It's
that was cute.
It doesn't mean you're not healthy if you're not, but so I really enjoyed that. And Dr. Westman and Ken Berry, I love the simplicity of their message because, some of them, especially the 15-minute ones, a few of them were speaking so fast because they wanted to say so much. But Dr. Ken Berry and Dr. Eric Westman was able to scale it back. And basically, Dr. Westman's just saying, how do my patients don't care about insulin? They don't care about blood sugar regulation. They just need a way to understand it. So I love how he, was putting stuff out there. And I think my favorite was eat what you are made of.
Yep. I thought that was a really, really good point. He made that very simple.
Yeah, we're made of water, protein, and fats. And then you want carbs or fats for energy, then you would use those for energy. But I love that because I've been doing presentations at, I teach high school. and I've been going into the healthcare classes to do presentations, and I might use that, just in general holistic nutrition. And then I've done some mental health as well,
Cool.
sort of more metabolic psychiatry, because there's a lot of kids in there suffering, and it's like, hey, it could be your brain's inflamed. So but yeah, I really enjoy Dr. Westman. Dave is amazing. He's so smart. So sometimes, like at other conferences, sometimes I can't, it just kind of goes over my head, starting
Sure.
to retain it, but he's a highly intelligent person.
It
Dave
really is.
Westman. Yeah.
Yeah, we're so grateful for him. You've already mentioned the term lean mass hyperresponders. That's definitely a topic we've, talked with Dave and other guests on our show quite a bit. But just for the listener, if you're not familiar, a lean mass hyperresponder, I believe you're a lean mass hyperresponder as well. So I'll always tell the story of our mutual friend Robyn, who just gets way too many mentions on our show. But Robyn, had a mental health crisis, had bipolar. She was featured in her whole family was featured in the movie Cholesterol Code, which we got to watch, which was amazing.
Right.
And asking, they interviewed their daughter Laura and said that, what memories do you have with your mom? And Laura said, like, I don't really have very many memories. She felt super bad about it afterward. I told her, no.
Yeah.
Like, that was, you could hear a pin drop in that theater. That was really, really powerful for people to hear. But anyway, Robyn found that when she decreased her carbohydrates to lose weight, she also improved her mental health to the point that she got off of all medications and is essentially like not bipolar anymore. Now gets to live her life and enjoy it. The catch is her LDL cholesterol, what doctors are calling bad cholesterol, is now sky high. It's not just a little bit over the limit. It's not 30 points high. It's like 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the amount that it should be. And so these people have really difficult day-to-day decisions to make. Do I want to be bipolar? Do I want to be medicated? Or do I want to walk around with the cholesterol that most doctors would say, like, oh, your heart's going to blow up at any moment? And so kudos to Dave, like you said, Dave Feldman, for discovering some of these patterns and trying to get the research done that is being completely crowdfunded by people in the low carbohydrate space to do heart scans. And now we're learning that these people with sky high cholesterol for many years have clean heart scans, very little plaque accumulation. It's really wonderful. And again, I just think that documentary was so amazing, super well done. I cannot wait till that comes out to the public in whatever capacity it does. Jen Eisenhart and her team at Wide Eye Productions did such a good job with it. It's very, very well done.
I think Dave was saying September.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so hopefully that'll be public on some, stream. That's, he hinted at that it would be substantial. Like,
yeah, I really hope so. I think the more people you kind of talk to out there, almost like kind of smell a rat when it comes to cholesterol, and very pertinent to your story and your mom and everything that she suffered through on a statin medication. I think more and more people are kind of waking up to the fact that, like, eggs are not necessarily bad for you, cholesterol is not that big of a deal, whatever. But yeah, they did such a great job in the movie, like highlighting everything and explaining everything really, really well. Like Nina Teichel said, even just the example of where Dave Feldman took the container of water and added oil and added sugar, like that's a really good visual that a lot of people probably would have made that connection. So anyway, as bummed as I was that I had to go buy a necktie, I was really excited to go watch that movie, and yeah, I can't wait for that to come out to the public.
Yeah, I heard I guess Robyn said you didn't realize it was formal. You're going to come in shorts and tank top.
So glad they told me. Yes, I've been in yoga clothes for like 5 years from the pandemic. I had to go out and buy a suit. I had to buy a collared shirt and a tie.
You did?
I did.
Don't you go to weddings or anything?
Apparently not. Apparently not. No, I grew up Mormon and I served a 2-year mission in Brazil. So literally I spent 2 years wearing a tie every single day. I kind of vowed like I would never wear a tie or own a tie ever again. And so I had to break that streak and go buy a tie, but it was totally worth it to go see the movie.
It looks very nice. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a rare thing. So anyway, I appreciate your insight into the conference. I thought it was also very, very well done. The presentations were good. I wouldn't say there was as much of like the research as we saw at the Symposium for Metabolic Health in 2024. There's definitely a lot more like kind of reviewing recent research, especially around mental health. But I thought the conference was great as well. So it was great to see you. Great to see your partner, Brian, and meet him. He is a wonderful guy. And yeah, we had a really good time visiting with you guys.
Yeah, it was so nice that he came. And I think he'll probably come to all the rest of the conferences.
Awesome. Awesome.
He just loves this community, and he's finding healing as well in this community. So
yeah, that's amazing. Well, like I said, he's a great guy, and yeah, it was really cool to meet him and talk with him. And now we can get to your story, which we discussed briefly on our episode. You did an awesome job on one of my favorite podcasts, the Off the Couch podcast with Maggie Stewart. You guys did an amazing job. I loved hearing your story there. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey into this metabolic health space and what that looked like for you?
Yeah, I think I always thought I was a healthy eater, generally whole foods. I still like sweets and everything, but I did have really severe migraines and chronic canker since I was probably 11 or 12. And it the I guess, and then I had heard, I don't know if it was, I can't remember at that time, it was also coincided with my mom getting Alzheimer's. And I thought, oh, what's good for brain health? And so I just went off sugar and gluten, and the migraines went away, the cankers went away. I felt a little bit better. My goal was to not get Alzheimer's like my mom. She passed away in 2018. And then my son was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And I was doing everything I could to help him, from different doctors, went to New York for brain SPECT imaging, sent him to a healing, like where they do ayahuasca. It was in Costa Rica, a healing center. And just anything, like you just try anything, because at that time it was presented as pretty severe depression. So the psychosis didn't happen yet. And then the psychosis happened, and it's pretty severe. So bipolar 1 is, it has very extreme mania, whereas bipolar 2 would have more hypomania and probably longer bouts of depression. Well, my son had the extreme of both, very debilitating depression. And the first psychotic episode was terrifying. It's terrifying. You don't know what's happening. This has never happened before. And so we had to take him to emergency. And I was very grateful for the hospital at that point in my life, because he was not well. So they were able to sedate him. And then the key is sleep, because people that are hypomanic or in a psychotic episode, the way their brain's working with the glutamate, they have energy. They have so much energy that they don't need to sleep. And they're like, I don't need sleep. And so you need that. This is where medication does come in handy, where it could help them sleep. So he has had, he's since had 5 episodes. And I would say after the 4th one, where we went to the hospital for a day or 2, he voluntarily went. I'm like, I'm not going to send you back to the hospital. Like, we're not going back there. And he agreed. He goes, don't bring me back there. I'm like, this sucks. And I said, hey, I've got your meds at home. I mean, I know I'm not a prescriber or a nurse or a doctor, but I've known enough psychiatrists in this field that I had chit chatted with. And Jan Ellison Bazuki, she's she's the one doing all the research, and the founder of Metabolic Mind. She's been very supportive, and this community is very open about what we do with the meds and stuff. But anyway, so the 5th one, I kept him at home, and he agreed to take some antipsychotics, because I had learned that they can be one-offs just for sleep. So but before I get to that awful hospital experience, I just want part of the journey. And I still know where I was driving. I was listening to Max Lugavere interview Dom D'Agostino. It was an Alzheimer's episode on Alzheimer's. And just like in there, they started talking about bipolar disorder, and there was like a nutritional intervention for it. And I'm like now, of course there is. Yes, of course. I understand how the brain works and the glucose metabolism. And, now it's so clear. But at the time, I'd never heard of that. And this is a lot of our story. So I almost pulled over. Like I just thought, well, and I was studying holistic nutrition already. I was just doing it part-time. So I was already, it took me 3 years to get that certification. And so it's halfway through, I think. And I'm saying, and I thought, wait a minute, I'm studying nutrition and you're telling me there's a nutritional intervention for bipolar disorder. And then the names that were mentioned in it were Chris Palmer, Jan Ellison, Matt Bazuki, and Ian Campbell. And so then, Casey, everything changed. And here I am. And I took George's course. I see these people, I've seen Chris Palmer talk. He sat beside me at one of the conferences and we talked about my son. And I know he was sort of reprimanding me a bit because he said, you're not a doctor. I'm like, I know, but my like it's sex around here, like I'm sorry, because I'm like kind of tapering the meds and stuff. So anyway, so that is where I found metabolic psychiatry. That is where I found the world of Chris Palmer, Georgia E, Nicole Laurent, Ian Campbell, incredible researcher with bipolar himself, studying bipolar in Edinburgh. And he's fascinating, Casey. Do you ever read anything he writes? He's like a
of
real,
course.
yeah, and you've seen his music. He's a music
Yeah.
composer. The way he sees bipolar is like kind of like a superhero. And I really appreciate that because I often would say to my son, let's see this like it's the gift of bipolar. Let's see, your brain can access so many things. So the psychosis is, and Hannah can talk about this too, Hannah Warren, there's some truth to that dimension they reach when they're in the psychosis, but sort of like, yeah, but we all live in the valley. So you've been up to the mountain here, but can you find a way to live down in the valley with us, with all this knowledge you have, and decipher what's going to be useful and what's like just junk, So, and when I read Ian's, what he writes, and he's so poetic, and I love the way he sees the bipolar brain. It makes me happy as a mother with a child, like who has a child like this, that my child is going to be okay. My son, he's 20, he's going to be 26, but he's going to be okay once he figures it out, because he's an adult, and I'm just going to I'm surrounded by all these incredible people like Robyn Dobbins, who we can say their bipolar is in remission, or as Matt Bazuki says, he's cured his bipolar, whatever you want to call it. Mia Mendes, who you interviewed, she counsels my son actually. And she is, she's the only person that my son didn't close down to. Like, he really got tired of talking to psychiatrists and psychotherapists, whatever, but she doesn't need to tell him to do keto. Like, that's not what she talks about. If he wants to know, she could support him, but she's just saying, like, this is how to do life. This is how you can do life, and so, he'll talk to her once in a while, but
that does not surprise me. She is as real gets. That does not surprise me that she connects well with him.
Yeah, and it's like she's my counselor, because we took George's course together. And when I found that out, to me, she was already a celebrity. I had already seen her on Bipolar Cast. I was thrilled she was in my course, because Georgia will only train 6 people at a time, and we're all in a live Zoom call. And you get to know people. So me and I have kept in touch, and I'm one of her biggest cheerleaders. And so, one thing she taught me, which I still use today, is when he was in a psychotic episode, she sent me a long voice message that said that she was taught this by someone. And she says, keep saying stuff like, it's totally possible that, it's totally possible that this is only going to last a couple of days. It's totally possible that within a month, he's going to like have a new life. Or remember when, my son was in psychosis, even though he's in it now, but it's just the manifesting, keeping a higher frequency of emotions, and letting, I never go down the what if, oh no, look at that homeless person. And, I never go there. I stop my thoughts. I had a mentor that said to me, the most powerful thing I can do as a mother is not say, you should do this, you should do this. It is to hold his healed outcome in my vision and thoughts, just see his healed outcome. And that's powerful. And she would say, you meditate every day with water, because apparently that's that helps the manifesting. And I've heard that before too. I can't explain why, but and you know, when I see parents at these conferences or through the, you know, the nonprofit I'm part of, Metabolic Collective, I connect with a lot of mothers. And sometimes, you know, what can I offer? And Matt Bazuki told me, when every mother asked Matt Bazuki, what can we do? And he said nothing. Like, he didn't mean nothing. He just meant it has to come from them.
Wow.
So it made me feel like I had power. If I meditate and only envision his healed outcome, only, then that's my power. And that's how I'm supporting him. And also, he always knows I'm here for him. So, I mean, you know, if that's also supporting him, I'm always here for him. So, you know, that's sort of my health journey. And my partner, Brian, has his health issues as well. And we found that low carb is, so we did it. I did ketogenic to support Seth, not so much. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I think that's the best diet for my brain. I don't want to get Alzheimer's. But then we're like, okay, I'm going to support my son. And then my sister went on it to support my son also for weight loss. And then I'm like, I'm sharp. Like, I'm way sharper, Casey, than my 20s and 30s. Like, I got through high school with high marks just by memorizing everything. I don't even know if I understood anything. Like, I'm sure I did, but I memorized. And I was telling Jan Bazuki at the premiere, whatever you call it, the private screening, about, like, I play piano and I could memorize for, you know, piano exams. I'd memorize a piece, very good, like, short-term memory. And then I'd try to play it a month later and need the music again. This is just a little example of how my brain's working better. Now, I don't know. Now I remember songs, like, I'm playing them. Like, I'm not even, like, how did this happen? I couldn't even do this when I was, you know, 18 years old, auditioning for universities. But so I just, like, this podcast, I'd be so, I'd lose my train of thought. You know, I go up to question and answers in conferences because I'm very curious. I'm not like, so I'm just really enjoying my brain right now. And that is my sort of my health journey, which includes, you know, influence from my mom, from my son, from my partner. And just, it seems like this way of eating is really, really good for me.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really amazing. Are you familiar with the book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, I believe?
No.
It's one of my favorite stories. The guy in India eventually, you know, he goes through different life cycles and kind of different karmas, and eventually he gets to see, he gets to meet his son, which he had never met before. And his son is basically like a complete asshole and keeps wanting to run away. And he's trying to be this, he's turned into this like loving, caring person, and like tries to, you know, be really patient. And one day the son takes the rowboat, rows across the river, breaks the oars, and runs away. And, you know, Siddhartha catches up to him or tries to catch up to him and wants to kind of chase him down. And his friend stops him and says, like, dude, like, you could live and die 1,000 times. You're not going to change the course of this kid's life. He needs to go through what he needs to go through. And so, as difficult as it was for him, he realized that he needed to let it go. And if things had changed, had come back. And I just think about that when I hear your story with our kids. If we all think back, like, what could our parents have done at all to change the course of our lives when we were teenagers? Like, probably absolutely nothing. Like, we were always going to do whatever we were going to do. And it must be very challenging as a parent. I don't have my own kids, but it must be very challenging to remember that they need to go through their own thing. And hear Matt Bazuki saying, like, there's nothing you can do. There are things you can do, but there's nothing you can do to alter what those people need to go through. So it's a challenge.
I think I've found peace over the last year, just when I've stepped back.
Yeah.
I do. I have found peace, and I trust, I have confidence that he's going to figure it out.
Yeah. And look at what you've done in the meantime is get yourself trained and continue helping other people. And now you've got, again, all that knowledge and wisdom, and coaching skills and all the connections as well that you help them when the time is right. So
yeah,
exactly. I think
exactly.
that's amazing. I do want to go back in your own personal story. I thought it was interesting that you decided to cut out sugar and you decided to cut out gluten. At the time, Did you think that was going to help your brain health? Like, what made you make that connection?
Yeah, let me think. I'm thinking it might have just been, okay, I don't want to get Alzheimer's. And I heard that. And you always hear gluten, everybody, because those books were all coming out like Wheat Belly and all this. So I could understand. And yeah, I think it was just brain health
Okay.
because I don't remember saying, what can I do to stop these migraines? And so I think it was more brain health.
Yeah. Got
And,
it.
um, and then this wonderful side benefit,
Yeah.
as Georgia Ede calls it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I was just curious about that. And then tell us a little bit about the story of your mother and how that all kind of came about. Did you notice, especially now in hindsight, did you notice little things that were kind of, maybe not as obvious then, but is definitely now like this is not going the right direction?
Yeah. Well, you look back and it, I think one of the most humorous stories, because even within her Alzheimer's, she was hilarious. We have such fun stories with her. We really took good care of her. I have two sisters, and she had a great sense of humor, and she was also way more honest in her Alzheimer's. Like she was more diplomatic when she didn't have it. So there's such cute stories. But there was a time somebody called me, like my sister or my mom, say, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I don't know, I'm at home." "Why?" "Well, we're here for your birthday party, your birthday dinner." I'm like, "Well, nobody told me you're having a birthday dinner for me." "Well, we're all here." And or maybe I was busy or something. Well, my mom had told them probably 3 times, things like that. And I think it happened a second time where they're like, "Okay, we rebooked." I'm like, "Nobody told me." um she was finding things. She used to knit and crochet or sew. She was finding things a little frustrating. When my kids were little, when we went away, I think for a short time, my parents were going to take them for hockey, and it was too overwhelming for her making Thanksgiving dinners. But it was sort of for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, my sisters and I took them to Italy. My mom was very religious, and this was a dream of hers to go to Rome. And on the first night, she said, "Oh, we were here at this place last night." And we're like, that was the very first time that she said that. I was like, "No," I got worried. "No, Mom, we weren't here last night. We just arrived today." And then slowly you could see, I went to a doctor appointment where they do that test. I forget what you call it. It's where they draw a clock.
Yeah, the clock test, I
And
think.
they said, the clock test, and they said, "And part of the test is I'm going to give you 5 words. You have to retain it." And I still remember some of the words. Church was one of them, and she went to church every day. So church, I thought she's going to get that one. Church, Daisy, and then there's 3 more. And they said, "And after, like in 10 minutes after other tests, we're going to ask you those words." And so she couldn't remember any of them. She didn't draw the clock that well. And they would hold a picture like a giraffe, and she couldn't quite come up with the word. And you don't notice that. But when I looked back, instead of saying, "Hey, do the kids have soccer today?" she would say, "Hey, do the kids have, the game with the ball?" So they can't retrieve words quickly. So in
Mm,
looking back, and then it makes a lot of sense. I can see it. That's why I'm scared. When I can't think of a word, I get very scared, uh, because I know that happened when, I was worried. I don't feel so worried now because I really feel in control of my
yeah.
brain health. But when my dad had lung cancer, and when I was over there trying to take care of him, I think he hid the fact how bad it was with my mom, because he was taking care of her. Because I stayed over there when he was really in pain one night, and we were in the living room because he had to sit up, like in order to sleep, because his back hurt, or his lungs. And my mom kept getting up, and she goes, "It's morning." I'm like, "It's not morning. It's like 3 in the morning. Like, go to bed." And so she, I discovered a lot more. And then he had passed away like maybe a few months after. So we started taking care of her. And we didn't know how bad it was. Yeah. So she didn't remember who I was by the end, but I was a good friend to her. So she loved me for sure. And I was her good friend. She was just so funny and lovely. But she needed 24-hour care. And so, and then she, so that was like 10 years from that trip to Italy, where she thought we were there the night before and we weren't, and to her passing. But her passing was from bowel ischemia. And it was just like random, came out of nowhere. But it did spare us the years, because it was almost time that she had to go into a home. It was too hard for us to take care of her at home. It was really hard, like the washroom and everything. And it was just getting worse. And so I don't know, it's like my dad was looking from heaven and say, you're looking at homes for my wife. No, she's not going into a home. She's coming to heaven, so so yeah, it was I was more devastated when I found out the diagnosis. Like, I would cry every day to work, every day coming home. I cried for the time. One day she's not going to know me. She won't know who I am. But when that actually came, I just was in the present moment, and I just enjoyed her for who she was. And I think my turning point from going from just pain and sadness was gratitude. So when I turned it over to why my mom, she was so healthy, why her, to, oh, I had my mom for 70 some years healthy. How lucky am I? My dad lost his dad when my dad was 7 years old. So, and I know people who've lost their parents earlier. So when I changed that, then I was like, I'm accepting this, and this is what it is, and I love her, and I'll take care of her. And
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. I believe that's a Zig Ziglar quote that I absolutely love. I think that's wonderful. And yeah, on the one hand, I mean, it's terrible, obviously, to see everything that your mom went through, and so sorry for your loss, but also quite amazing that you did have the opportunity to take care of her and be close to her at the end. And yeah, you're talking about like your suffering, and we kind of talked. I wanted to ask you, like, who do you think suffers more with a mental health issue like this? Do you think it's the person going through it, or do you think it's the family that's around it that is watching their loved one kind of deteriorate? I think that's, I don't know. I'll let you answer the question.
I do think both, because of course it's so hard for for a mother, for sure, to see this. But I do think, I know a lot of people, they have suffered greatly, because, for example, with bipolar, you have psychotic episodes, your friends are freaked out, you lose relationships, there's the spending, like it's a common symptom to overspend, you lose your life savings. At the time, psychosis and mania feel amazing. Like, you have boundless energy. You feel on top of the world. You feel that you've unlocked all the universal truths. It's pretty amazing. And then you come down, and then you're debilitating. You're in bed again. So I think it's not a suffering feeling during the psychotic episodes or the hypomania for bipolar 2, because hypomania, they're getting stuff done. Like, they're like accomplishing a lot, and so it feels good. But then it's the depression. And Ian Campbell describes the depression really well, and that helped me as a mother to understand what my son was going through. He said it is like, it's also a physiological thing where your body feels very heavy. So when people say, just get up and exercise, you're going to feel better, just go for a walk, he says it's like you're carrying a backpack, and to lift your limb, it's very heavy. Like, not just metaphorically, like your body feels heavy, so it's hard to exercise, and of course you don't want to, and it's a terrible feeling. And then he said, when he went on keto, he said, well, I thought this was kind of funny, he said, well, he was gaining weight, and ketogenic, as is what most people find it, just because they want to lose weight. He said, well, I may as well not be fat and depressed. I may as well just. So he went on ketogenic diet, and within a few days, he felt this new feeling called joy. And he said, is this what people feel like? Because he was at like family picnics and everybody's having fun, and he would look and he goes, I don't get it. Like, how are they? And so yes, I think they suffer terribly
Yeah.
in the depressive state.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard for us to see a loved one suffer. That's the hard part for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Hard for both. I think that's a very well thought out answer. Quick side note, we do send out $20 checks to anybody who says the word boundless during our interviews that is plugging the company. So I'll send you a check.
Yeah, you know what?
That.
I was quite aware when I said that word,
Good.
but
Okay.
actually
Good.
that brings me to, I would like to suggest a new name for
Okay. Here we go.
And people change their names. I just want to add 2 words to it. And it's boundless body and mind.
I love it.
Because I just want to thank you on behalf of all metabolic psychiatry, not that I'm their spokesman, but you have really been a cheerleader for this over the last year. And like all the people you're interviewing from the Smart, what was that award? Fresh Start Award.
Fresh Start. Yeah.
Yeah. Letting people tell their stories, interviewing, the clinicians. So you are beyond body,
Well,
beyond a boundless body.
Thank you very much. I will present that to the board of directors. We'll see what they say. We'll have to get
rebranded. See what Bethany
says? Yep. Yeah, exactly. The board of directors. Yeah. Well, thank you. And I would have never predicted that I would be on this journey and have so much fascination with stuff that I had never been, aware of, curious about. And to find metabolic psychiatry and to hear presentations like you and I heard at the Symposium for Metabolic Health about people with anorexia, severe depression, anxiety, bipolar, all of these conditions getting better, significantly better without the use of medications. It's just, to hear the story of Ian Campbell say this is joy and look out a bus window and it's just happy. It's such an interesting story. And so it's been really in a way easy to get curious about this stuff, but it's been a very interesting journey. And speaking of, I want to know what was the medical care like for your mom in particular? You've already kind of told us a little bit about what it was like for your son. Obviously the hospital is helpful when you need it and you need to be sedated. Generally speaking, otherwise not the best. What was your experience like as far as the medical care for your mom, and especially certain medications that she ended up getting put on?
Yeah, well, we should go back a little bit. She was convinced to go on statins. This is why I'm so vocal about statins and cholesterol. She was part of the low fat thinking margarine was healthy and all that, but she also was very would never take pills. She wouldn't even take Tylenol. If the doctor said, oh, you need this pill, so, oh no, I'll reverse it. And she would read, I'll eat more fish, whatever. And so they said, you need to go on statins, your LDL's too high. And oh no, let me reverse it, I'll bring it down. She ate more fatty fish, blah blah blah. So she did her research. I can see how I was interested in holistic nutrition. When I look back, I thought that was normal, but now I see it's from my mom. But they kept saying you need to you're gonna have a heart attack. So she finally did it. So Casey, I'm sorry, but I really think that was a huge contributor to her Alzheimer's. It pisses me off. But anyway, now she has Alzheimer's. Now what? Well, they have an experimental drug. And, we now know no drugs work for Alzheimer's. Okay. It's the worst. It's just the worst track record. Why are they still trying?
It was fraudulent. It was 2 decades of fraudulent research.
Yes, exactly. And it's not one thing. So we did this trial. I didn't know much. I wasn't in this space back then. So what was the care like? Nothing. It was nothing. Okay. They did nothing, but there's nothing to do except for dietary and metabolic stuff. There's no pills for it. So you don't really need doctor care. But so that was, the other thing is I was not interested in these Alzheimer's support groups. They were depressing. And furthermore, just recently, like, you know how I said I was going into the healthcare classes in the high school? I was
Yeah.
just thought I want to get a really easy way to explain cholesterol. So I typed in, what is cholesterol? Like, just to see if there's a nice video I could show. No, not that. Oh no, sorry. I got two things to complain about. Was it the American Heart Association? It was such a, of course they have misinformation. I don't even want to go there right now. That pisses me off. It was, oh no, I was looking for, okay, I don't care what I was looking for. Bottom line is, the Canadian Alzheimer's Society. First, I thought, oh my gosh, they're embracing metabolic therapy because, do you know Dr. Dale Bredesen?
Yeah, of course.
He should be more part of our community. But anyway, they said false hope. First, I thought it was hope. Like Dr. Dale Bredesen brings hope to Alzheimer's. No, they said false hope.
What?
They said false hope. This guy has 10 case studies. I read the first case study. This woman couldn't even drive back home. She drove from her job. Like, that's a common thing where you get mixed up where you are. And she had to stop working, blah, 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 blah. She did the Dale Bredesen protocol, and she was able to reverse that. And so she could drive home. She's back working. That's not false hope, Canadian Alzheimer's Society, or whatever they're called. That's not false hope. That's hope. That's like talking to Robyn Dobbins and saying, wow, you don't have bipolar anymore. That's called hope.
That's crazy. A
Yes.
case study is just a story. It's somebody telling a story. How could that not provide hope? This one person reversed a bunch of stuff and feels good.
There was 10 that he published, 10.
That's wild.
And they say false hope because the science or whatever. It's like, anyway, they're very corrupt. I don't even know where we're going with this. Yeah, my mom's care. So my mom's care, we took care of her. You know what? She's part of our family now. We hired a caregiver from Philippines, and she wanted to move to Canada anyway. And she lived with my sister. She was so good with my mom. Like, from the day, I learned so much from her. So the medical system didn't take care of her. Adelpha took care of her. Shout out to Adelpha. Adelpha took care of her. My sisters took care of her. And we didn't really need doctors. So, but it's cute because in the middle of the night, when my mom would get up and I'd be arguing with her, it's nighttime, go to bed, like, you're tired. And Adelpha would say, and I'd just watch her, I'm like, damn, you're good. And she'd say, Jermaine, because she would sleep with my mom, or we always had to sleep with her because she'd be up all through the night. She goes, Jermaine, I'm really tired. Is it okay if I go back to bed for 10 minutes? And my mom would say, yes, dear. And she would say, do you want to come with me? Okay. And I'd watch them. I'm like, okay, don't argue with someone with Alzheimer's. You got to enter their world, right? Wow. So that's who took care of my mom. Wow. And then as far as my son, I even said to one psychiatrist, please, like, ahead of time, and to the psychiatric nurse after another bout in the hospital, I said, please don't ask him his story anymore. Like, he's tired of telling it. Just, what can we do? And what did they do? They asked him his story. Tell us the first time. Okay, now try this med. Or try this med. And I'm like, I don't want to try that med. I said, let's do lithium. And then I looked at the notes after, like, they type out all the notes, and I saw it, and it said, suggestion not to have mother in the room next time. And I told Jan Bazuki that, and she said they did that to her too. They didn't like her in there.
Wow. Get the mama bear out of here.
I don't know about the drugs. I just like the sound of lithium. It just seemed more natural. But lithium orotate is something I want to learn more about. That's more the natural form. Like, you and I could take 5 milligrams just for brain.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Did you know that? I think it was in Texas somewhere. Lithium, the natural element, leaked into the water supply, and their crime rate went down.
No, I did not hear that. Interesting.
Very good for the brain.
Wow.
So, but then the kind they prescribe is the synthetic. So there's side effects. It's the carbonate, but the lithium orotate is more natural. So I've been looking into that,
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Not surprising at this point to hear stories like that of the medical system, and God bless them. They're doing the best they can on usually just a failed paradigm. It's we developed certain pills that help certain things like penicillin, and now we just think that any kind of pill will just fix whatever, and it's just
yeah.
that's not the way chronic disease works, especially in the context of a very, very poor diet.
And also, Casey, why would the psych ward in our local hospital not have anywhere to exercise, not even exercise bike? It's a hallway. They can walk
Wow.
up and down, and they're not allowed to go outside very much. And when he went in voluntarily, and they wouldn't let him outside for his little 15-minute break. So until I got there, I'm like,
Wow.
why are you not like he is one with nature, this kid. Like this kid loves grounding in nature and walking barefoot, and he could live in the woods. He loves the earth, and he needs nature. He needs exercise, that for brain health. So
Totally.
we
Totally.
need more rehabilitation places. Like we need little mini resorts. It's
Yeah.
expensive though.
No, that's a really good point. And you're right what you said earlier. I really like that you said that some of these conditions today we recognize as, difficult conditions. They have names, diagnoses, and migraine is no different. Like a migraine brain is different. And there are significant advantages, especially as we were evolving, where you're probably the person that can smell things that I can't smell. You can probably see things that I can't see. You might get emotional during a commercial in TV.
Is that a migraine thing, or is that?
That is totally a migraine thing.
I didn't know that.
Dr. Angela Stanton told us that on an episode we did with her.
Write that down.
She's in her 70s and literally wrote the book on migraine and is on a carnivore diet, and just said like a migraine brain, it's about 10% of people that have it, and it is wired differently. And it was very advantageous as we were evolving, because these were the sensitive people. They could feel things and see things, and they're highly emotional, and their sensitivity is really, really high, and they get put in a lifestyle that is just not suited to that, and it flips and becomes something very challenging. So hearing that your son just wants to be in nature, just wants to be grounded, like, of course that makes a lot of sense. And now throw him in a standard school system, or feed him the standard Canadian diet or whatever, and it doesn't work that well. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they do have did you hear about Accord in outside of Boston? It's with Ellen Horn. Dr. Matt Bernstein is the director.
Yes, I interviewed him.
It's a home. It's
Yeah.
a home where you can learn like to do metabolic therapies under the care of a psychiatrist.
Yeah. He talked to me about that. That sounded very, very interesting. I'm glad that at least that kind of thing is starting.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's going to be a long ways, but that is an option for some people. So yeah, I love that. I hope that gets out.
My vision with my, being a holistic nutritionist isn't as much clients. I would love to work with local psychiatrists. And I know one day they're going to find out like about this, and they're going to be curious, and they're going to want to try it, and they won't know how. Like they'll need a nutritionist. You need a team. And so that's sort of my vision. I still haven't put my name on Georgia Eats directory. I'm just working with this nonprofit and still working a full-time job. But I think, even to put it on there just in case somebody local is like, this sounds good. Like, how do I do this? And then, that's my vision.
In all your years of being in education and your years as a teacher, like obviously you've had a side interest in nutrition, and you were, getting this holistic nutrition certification. And it sounds like it was just more like kind of your own curiosity. But have you ever come across a topic that was so engaging and just grabbed you to the extent that you'd want to start this thing on the side? And yeah, you might not ever have, a ton of clients, but you might, and you have a website and you went through these other certifications. Like, has anything else ever grabbed your attention this way? Like look at this silly podcast. Like I'm a personal trainer. I've been a personal trainer for 2 decades. I shouldn't be talking to people about metabolic psychiatry, but that's where we are. Like it's incredible.
It's cool.
Like,
I know what? My kids are finally, I think, realizing that I know stuff, because you get older and you do look back at your life. I'm a musician as well. I used to gig and I go a jazz musician, And so I've got the music piece, like I have a music degree and a math minor. So I teach music and math. So I know music and I know math. And then I don't know, just it's funny when I started studying nutrition, I just loved it so much. And like I'm reading so many books, I'm listening to health podcasts. I would like the discipline of like taking courses and getting this certification. For what? No idea. I have no idea. But maybe it will lead me to working with psychiatrists in this area, and working with people that have a vision of where psychiatry care can go. And I want to be part of that, the nutrition piece. But it is cool, like Casey, like how life just evolves. Like I'm never worried anymore. Like as you get older, something comes up and like, that's a drag. And then it's like, oh, this turned out to be great. You know how many times that happened?
Totally.
So
Yeah.
I don't even like, I don't get down a lot. I do think there's such a thing. Some people are born with more oxytocin. I read that somewhere. I think that's me because I'm pretty positive and happy. I feel joy. I feel closeness to people, but I just am so invigorated because I'm kind of coming close to retiring from teaching. I'm kind of past actually. And I love teaching. I love the students. I'm not burnt out at all. But when I do retire, I'll probably be, in this metabolic psychiatry and neurology space. And that's what, this nonprofit Metabolic Collective, it's both metabolic psychiatry and neurology. And the neurology part isn't getting like we're going to ride on the metabolic psychiatry train because you know what, Casey, what I was thinking? It's so cool that all this metabolic people with diabetes, metabolic psychiatry, neurology, we're all coming together. And when you're on X, it's just funny because it's almost like High School Musical. We're all in this together because like we need to talk to other people beside each other, right? Like other people aren't that interested, but sometimes they are. Like, sometimes somebody will come up to me at work. I've had someone say, can I talk to you about statins? Because I put it on Instagram. So Instagram for me is just more family, friends. And I'll every once in a while, just put a little bit, nobody responds, If I put a picture of my kids or I'm at some gala or something, then like, it's nice. Oh, your daughter graduated. But if I put something about cholesterol or statins, but I think we need to somehow find a way. And I think we're getting there. I really do.
I think so
I'm
too.
excited about this movement.
Yeah, I am too. I have not seen this much energy around it in the past as we have today. It definitely feels like there's something bigger that drives us all forward in this. Like we're called to this somehow, and like I don't know where this is going to end up or what this is all for, but it seems like it's for something. And I just have to ask you personally, like, yes, I knowing you and how happy and positive you are. You might have a little bit of like different brain chemistry, but I think this is very much true as far as what you consume at your own personal diet. Do you feel like when you're consuming a mostly kind of a carnivore, or not carnivore, excuse me, but more like a ketogenic type diet, do you feel like that enhances your spirituality in particular?
Interesting. Well, I can't really speak exactly. Like I've always been into sort of meditation, visualization. I'm going to have to be more aware. Did you feel that for you?
I would strongly make that case that like meditation is easier, gratitude is easier. I mean, when I went carnivore, my anxiety dropped out that I didn't think that I had, and it was not clinical anxiety, but it was enough that like I would find myself spinning around in things that weren't ever going to happen, and that kind of calmed down. But I to me, I feel like eating this way is, yes, it's physically amazing. Yes, everything that you named as far as the mental clarity, remembering things, is amazing. I feel sharper now than I have in the past, but more than that, it also feels like a deeper spiritual connection to people around me, places around me, the earth itself. There's something to it for sure that I definitely notice.
Well, what I do notice is I don't react anymore. Like I am so calm. Like even though I was always positive, I've screamed at my kids. Like when I think back, it's like, whoo. or you get irritated by things. And anything could happen. Nothing phases me anymore. You break something or you get in a car accident, as long as everybody's okay. It's like, oh, well, what do we do now? It's just like, what's the next step?
Yeah,
So
you
I
problem solve
definitely
so much
feel,
easier.
what's that?
You problem solve so much easier. You go, oh, this happened. Well, we could do A, B, or C. What
I
sounds
just
best?
take action. Like I don't react as much. I mean, yeah, sometimes, but it really does have to do with how I eat. Like I eat generally ketogenic, and sometimes I go off a little bit, like just kind of low carb. But I'm better in the ketogenic, like if
Yeah.
I'm in ketosis. And I haven't tried carnivore yet, but I'm curious about it. And I I actually was kind of inspired by when you were interviewing someone. I guess it was when you were telling your story. So I think someone was interviewing you and you just talked about the anxiety dropping off. And I've always experimented with nutrition, the elimination diet. I've tried vegan for a month. I got very bloated. It wasn't for me. And
Mm.
I tried vegetarian when I was younger. And so I'm always experimenting. So far keto is my favorite, but I haven't tried carnivore yet. So I'm going to try
Cool.
that.
Cool.
And my partner Brian is, for his Lyme disease. And someone at the conference was giving away a whole bunch of free books. Did you see that? And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
took
Yeah.
the Carnivore Cure. Have you ever read that?
I have. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
good.
So I just grabbed that book. So I'm going to read that. And so yeah, that's a really interesting question, Casey. I'm going to
Mm.
like
Yeah,
that.
just something I've noticed.
Yeah.
Obviously, nothing we can prove, but I just been curious about your own experience. And then you did mention the Metabolic Collective. There's not a ton of information out there about it. Even on the website, it's mostly just like a landing page,
It's
and
a
you can
landing page.
you can fill things out. Yeah, tell
Yeah.
us a little bit more about it.
We're gonna put we're updating that pretty soon with the team. Like we'll put Hannah Warren, who is works for Metabolic Mind. She's sort of the visionary of this. So basically our mission and our vision is it's like a grassroots community movement where we are trying to bring awareness and access to metabolic psychiatry and neurology. And so our vision, we want to start some projects this year. So we have our, what's it called in the States, 501ac or something. I was for nonprofit, like,
Got it. Yeah,
you know
something
what
like
that
that.
is? Yeah.
I
Okay.
I don't know exactly, but yeah,
I keep
something like that
forgetting
sounds
how to
right.
say it, but I'm Canadian. So, and so we are things like where we have like peer mentoring or storytellers group where we can train people who want to tell their story and support them. Support training for coaches to bring together all these people. Like I'm the volunteer coordinator, and right now we haven't really advertised it, but we are you can get our link on Metabolic Mind for people who want to volunteer. And a lot of people are like, I want to help someone else. I want to be a peer mentor. Like I'm better and I want to help people, because there's not enough psychiatrists out there right now. And we just got to be careful legally that, this isn't legal or this isn't medical. But we are doing, like some of the vision, we've met with some really nice, good, big names out there to say what is needed. And we've met with other people that are just doing, already doing some good work. And for example, maybe met at conventional medical conferences, maybe we set up a table, for example, this is a
Yeah.
little, or fundraising locally, or creating materials to bring to clinicians, stuff like that. And so even some of the people that we've talked to in our focus groups have said, don't use the word keto. Dom D'Agostino, he says anytime he applies for research, he doesn't use the word ketogenic. I think he
Probably
calls
smart.
it ketone metabolic therapy or whatever. So we want to use, for example, the Think Smart model Metabolic Mind has put out. For example,
Yeah.
our volunteers could create a support group, or not a support, like a Facebook group or something to support that. Like these are just little things that we have a bigger picture, but for now we want to start with, we find the biggest need is needing peer mentors. So
Got it.
we want to raise awareness, but access as well, because some people just can't afford it. So that's our vision, and we're starting small, and our website should be updated soon. And just, yeah, it's pretty quiet right now, but it shows a little bit of our vision to get this, and just using,
Cool.
and like Ian Campbell, he says this movement, he was one of our advisors. He said this has to be patient-led, because it's like a civil rights movement. And I think someone at the conference said, I can't remember where I heard this, but you have enough people going to the doctor and saying, I want to try this tool. I want to try this tool. And it's so grassroots movement,
Yeah,
and so we got to
absolutely.
get the word out there somehow. And we have a lot
Absolutely.
of people interested in spreading
Wow.
the word.
Well, I don't know what potential resources I could add, but that definitely sounds something interesting for me personally to go onto the Metabolic Collective, and just like you could see where the form is, you can click the different things that you can maybe contribute. And yeah, I would love to like volunteer and help in any way
And
that I
yeah,
possibly
and
can.
what we say to our volunteers is, it's like, where does your heart want to be? So it's not like you got, oh, we're going to get you to do this, but I don't really want to do this. Like, we have some that are like, I want to speak. I'm ready to speak. It's like, okay, we're going to help you. We're going to
Cool.
create a template with you. We're going to have you train, like we'll pay for your training, like Toastmasters or something, like, you know what I mean? Or someone else says, I want to be behind the scenes. I just want to be there if somebody wants to call me, and talk, I could tell them my story. Or I love fundraising. I want to raise money so that we can support people to send them like to this conference, or to, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so we always have between, with Hannah as our Warren as our visionary, she can dream big. She sees it. And, I feel like I'm just happy to just be her assistant if needed, or definitely I'm the one talking to all the volunteers and meeting everybody and creating groups and bringing people together.
Cool.
So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
That's amazing. I just don't know, again, I'm reiterating the point. I don't know many topics that make people go to whatever lengths they are going to get the word out, whether they're, starting a business or doing coaching or doing what you're doing, and just like gathering information, learning, and not married to any one particular thing in the future. And I don't know of any other topic that could get strangers together in a conference room, or like meeting Robyn at a conference as she was eating her lunch outside, and we're like amazing friends, and going to dinner
Yeah.
with you and Matt and Robyn. And it's like, I've gone to dinner with lots of strangers, but I'm not like best friends with all the people. And like, I just to meet you and know your story, and to meet your partner, Brian, and just like, you guys feel like dear friends. So it feels like we go way, way back. And
Yeah.
I don't know any other, again, kind of like topic that brings people together to that level of closeness, and having everybody working towards a common goal. I really think it's for something. I think it will pay off.
Yeah.
And yeah, whether, it helps all the people we want to help or not, I think that's irrelevant. I think we're all, trying as hard as we can to get that message out there. And you're certainly a huge part of that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And it is helping people,
Yeah,
it
it
is
definitely
helping
is.
people. They are hearing this story. And I
Yep.
know Robyn, she really just wants to help people. Like,
Yep.
she's going to be involved in Metabolic Collective, and her heart is just in the right place. Like,
Yep. Yep. I don't know many people who I would say their heart is not in this cause in particular. Like, people are really genuinely caring and really, really, really want to help. And again, you're no different. Again, I just really love this conversation. I've loved catching up with you. Thank you so much for taking time to be on our show. We're both in snowy locations and both experiencing kind of somewhat of a snow day. Your school actually got canceled today, right?
yeah, it got canceled.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I think the last time I was on your podcast, I had a tan. So I'm pasty white now.
Yeah, we're
Uh,
definitely polar bears.
you know what? I'm Canadian, and the snow is fun. Like, I like the seasons, but
Cool.
and I love a snow day. So
There you go. Perfect. That's great. Janet, for now, where would you like people to go to find you and connect with you and your work?
So my website is purelyjanet.ca. You could connect with me there. Also on the Metabolic Collective website, it's metaboliccollective.org. And if anybody is interested in joining us and just understanding what it is, or I could meet you for a call. And you can email me directly at janet@metaboliccollective.org. There's also a email on the website too that will eventually get to me. And if you're interested in hearing more or just being part of this movement, and if any of your listeners are, then I would say those two places you can get a hold of me.
Great. That's awesome. And Maggie pointed this out, so I'm going to be sure to point this out as well. If people follow you on Instagram, they get to hear your singing, and you are a great, great singer. Your voice is incredible. I saw the video of you performing Beatles Come Together,
Oh,
and like,
yeah.
oh, you need some courage to cover the Beatles,
Jazz.
and you did an amazing job.
Oh,
So
thank
good.
you. Yeah,
So
jazz
good.
version of Come Together. Right. I was gonna say, did you see
Beautiful.
that? That's true, Instagram. So
It was
thank
beautiful.
you.
Yeah, the song is stuck in my head now, and you did an amazing job. So
Thanks, Casey.
kudos to you. Thank you, Janet. This has been an amazing conversation. I really just your passion is really infectious. And again, knowing that you're doing this alongside a full-time job, and whatever this becomes in the future is going to be really, really important and part of this emerging movement of metabolic psychiatry. So thank you so very much for all of your work. Thank you for being such a great friend, and thank you for making time to be on our show today. We really appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Casey.
Of course, absolutely. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.